Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel where we learn all about wildlife. And today we're going to talk about one of my favorites.
Polar bears!
The polar bear. So what are polar bears? Polar bears are marine mammals native to the Arctic Circle. What? Marine mammals? Why? Although they spend a lot of time on land, scientists classify them as marine mammals because of their dependence on sea ice. They are the largest of the bear species and the largest extant land carnivore. The polar bear's scientific name is Ursus maritimus, which means maritime bear. Polar bears are not white. Really, their skin is black and is covered with hollow, colorless hair. The hollow fur traps the sun's heat and reflects light, giving them a bright white color and providing them with a perfect source of insulation. They have small black eyes and a black nose, small ears and tails, and sharp teeth and claws. Their front paws are large and flat. Polar bears can grow to be from 8 feet to 11 feet tall and up to 8 feet long. An adult male can weigh between 770 to 1,500 pounds. Adult females are typically half of the males. So where do polar bears live? There are about 19 different populations of polar bears, and they all live in the Arctic region. Governments and scientists have designated these populations depending on 4 different sea ice regions. The formation and melting of sea ice are unique in each of these 4 regions, subjecting polar bears to different survival risks and threats. Each region differs in geography, sea ice levels, and vulnerability to climate change. You can find a detailed description of each of these 4 regions on our website, on our blog, and the link is down below. The polar bear habitat includes Alaska, Canada, Greenland, Norway, and Russia. They live along coasts and ice packs. Today, it is estimated that 60% of the world's population of polar bears live in Canada. Canada is known as the polar bear capital of the world. The polar bear habitat continues to change depending on the distribution of sea ice and seals. For that reason, the polar bear's home range is larger than any other species of bears. In regions with less sea ice and seals, polar bears travel longer distances and have longer fasting periods. Due to the constant change in their habitat, polar bears do not have territories, unlike any other large carnivore. So what do polar bears eat? The polar bear is a hypercarnivorous bear. That means that 70% of their diet is meat. Polar bears eat mostly seals that they catch on the sea ice and while standing on the edges of the sea ice. However, when there is no sea ice present, they live off the fat reserves that they have gained during the winter. Polar bears are very poor hunters, and only 2% of their attempts to catch prey are successful. When they can't catch a seal, they settle for small mammals, birds, eggs, vegetation, a walrus if they can catch one, and even a whale carcass. In the event that a narwhal or a beluga whale gets trapped in small openings in pack ice, they become easy prey for the polar bear. So what are some of these amazing bears' adaptations? Polar bears are well adapted to survive in the harsh environment of the Arctic region. Their hollow fur traps heat for insulation. The fur is very thick, completely covering their black skin. The color of the skin further works to attract the sun's rays. Additionally, they have a layer of fat called blubber to protect them from the cold air and water. They also have flat front paws that help them swim so that they can travel in the water when searching for food. Their soles are covered in fur, similarly to the Arctic animals like the snowy owl and the Arctic fox. The fur in the soles gives the polar bear a better grip when walking on ice and also keeps their paws warm. They have very sharp teeth and claws for hunting and digging. Their small ears and tails are for reducing heat loss. Polar bears can go months without eating when food is scarce. They are able to adapt to food deprivation by slowing down their metabolisms and transforming into a hibernation-like state.
Polar bears could run up to 25 miles per hour. Polar bears are excellent swimmers. They use their front paws as paddles and their back legs to steer, reaching speeds up to 6 miles per hour. And they can swim great distances. Sometimes it can take hours or even days to reach the next sea ice.
Polar bears roll on the snow or go for a swim to clean themselves. Keeping the fur clean helps them maintain the insulation properties of their fur and also helps them cool off when they get too hot. Polar bears have an incredible sense of smell and can smell a seal from half a mile away. Polar bears are adapted to survive the cold temperatures of the Arctic, which can drop to -50 degrees during the winter. In the summer, however, they run the risk of overheating as temperatures rise to 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Polar bears are solitary and mainly live and hunt alone. Polar bears' hairs are about 2 to 6 inches long. Their coat turns yellow as they age. Polar bears typically live between 15 to 18 years, but can reach 30 years of age in captivity. Some have lived up to 40 years. Polar bears love to feed on ringed and beard seals. The ringed seals are the most abundant during the months of April through July. Indeed, this is an important time for polar bears, and they must take advantage of the abundance of food during this time and build up their body fat stores to survive the months when food is scarce. Polar bears can go months in starvation. They can lose half of their body mass during this time. Polar bears do not hibernate. Polar bears do not have natural predators in the wild. Are polar bears friendly to humans? No, polar bears are not friendly to humans. They are quite dangerous, not only because they are large and powerful, but also because they are naturally curious and are not afraid of humans. Polar bears have a total of 42 teeth. And here are 3 super cool facts. Number 1. Scientists have figured out that they can extract the DNA of a polar bear from its tracks. The WWF developed an innovative new technique to isolate DNA from a polar bear's footprint in the snow and the DNA of the seal it ate. Number 2. Grizzly polar bears hybrids have been confirmed through genetic testing. Number 3. Scientists discovered by accident that polar bears can become invisible. They are invisible to infrared cameras. If you want to learn more about that, follow the link to our blog and you can read all about that. The breeding season for polar bears is between March and July. However, the polar bears only breed once every 3 years. Cubs are born after an 8-month gestation period. Female polar bears give birth to their cubs in snow dens that they dig themselves. These dens help protect the cubs and keeps them warm. A newborn cub is about 12 inches long and weighs only 1 pound. The males do not help protect their cubs. The baby polar bears stay within the dens for 4 to 5 months. They stay with the mothers for about 2 years, learning important survival skills. Scientists estimate that there are about 20,000 to 25,000 polar bears left in the world. So why are polar bears endangered? Polar bears are currently listed in the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species as vulnerable. Unfortunately, polar bears face many challenges to survive in the advancing world we live in today. The main threat to polar bears is the effect global warming has on sea ice. Most critically, higher temperatures are melting the sea ice earlier each year and forming later in the winter. The shrinking sea ice makes it harder for polar bears to effectively hunt for seals, which is their main source of food. Polar bears use sea ice as a platform to hunt for seals from above the water. They don't catch seals in the open water. Other threats include hunting and pollution. An increase in pollutants around the world is negatively affecting polar bears. Harmful pesticides generally find their way into the oceans and the habitats in which animals live. Since the polar bears are at the top of the food chain in the Arctic, and they end up eating the polluted animals. Pollution from oil spills also ends up in the Arctic oceans and damages the polar bear's fur, putting them at risk of hypothermia. February 27th is International Polar Bear Day. The date was established by the Polar Bears International Organization with the goal of raising awareness about the impact global warming has on these incredible polar bears. On this day, the Polar Bears International Organization encourages people to find ways to live more sustainably and reduce their carbon output.